Previously on the Steve Fox career mode. So we're revving up to 5 red lights here at Bahrain. It's lights out and away we go, and a wheel spin start gains Steve. He's going for the lead. He's going to get past Lewis Hamilton. Can he keep the lead going into turn 1? Is he going up to the brake zone? Can he keep the lead? And he gets past Lewis Hamilton for the lead of the race. Steve goes to the right. You see Sebastian Vettel on his Ferrari goes to the left hand side. Can the lead change on the last corner, last lap? It does, but does it go back in Steve's favour? It does again. Hamilton manages to get past Vettel, but nothing is going to stop Steve Fox from winning his first ever race here at the Bahrain International Circuit.
Hey, good to see you again. The factory sent over the parts that were looking good on the rig. They're being fitted as we speak. Have a look at the report.
Right, so we have a brand new part for the car. As you can see, it's the fuel injection system, which helps our fuel efficiency. And now it's onto the Shanghai International Circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix weekend.
Good morning, and I hope you're as excited as we are for today's practice session here at the Shanghai International Circuit. This 5.45 kilometre track provides both low-speed cornering and a long high-speed straight, a combination that will challenge even the most experienced driver. Now then, Anthony Davidson, there's been a lot of talk over the last few weeks about track limits. How much is too much when you're cutting corners and running wide? What are your thoughts on this, and do you think we'll be seeing drivers pushing those limits this weekend?
Well, I'd be disappointed if we didn't, frankly. If race control want to clamp down on drivers wandering off the track, then it's up to them to police it. As a driver, you're being paid to get your car around the circuit as quickly as possible, don't forget. So if you're not pushing those limits, if you're ignoring the advantageous line, then you're not doing your job properly. Now, I agree that, we have these white lines there for a reason, and we do want to see those limits enforced, but for me, it's not a driver's responsibility to do that.
Right then, let's jump straight into practice with Steve at the Chinese Grand Prix circuit, which is set in Shanghai. And you see you join us in practice where we're doing the circuit test, the tyre test, and of course the qualifying pace test. And Steve seems to actually do pretty well around here, especially in China, considering it's China. It's quite a difficult circuit, as you can see. He's pretty much nailed the laps on the sectors. A few corners where he's got green, but mostly purple. And quite a good result as to see. The team's actually quite impressed with him. Like I said, it's on medium tyres, so it wasn't really, lap time wasn't everything that we were going for. Like I said, next test, as you can see here, is the tyre test. Now, this one actually was quite impressive by Steve, because not once, as you'll see, but near enough on every single attempt he did, on every single lap, he got purple. Like, near enough, the bar was right at the end, which was very, very impressive. You can see third lap there, purple. And as you come across the last lap, the last time, you'll see now, he actually comes across the line and it's all purple. He's got a full 60 out of 60 result, which wasn't too bad. You see Vettel down up his inside testing something there. Qualifying pace, this is the first lap, and despite going a bit wide, he opens the DRS, comes across the line and completes the entire qualifying pace in one lap. 142.511, but obviously the time was 140.174. Will that be good enough for practice? Well, let's just find out as I now hand you over to the commentators.
Conditions should remain dry. We will keep you informed of any changes to the weather.
An interesting practice session there then. Let's remind ourselves of the top three, who are Rosberg, a Haas, and Max Verstappen. Practice times are on the board then, but no points are on offer just yet. We'll be back with more F1 action soon.
Right, as you can see then from the practice 1 results, it's Nico Rosberg who tops the time sheets by 3/10 of a second from Steve Fox. Obviously, with it being practice and so on, it's not very accurate as who's going to get pole and so on. But as you can see, Verstappen getting third, Ricciardo fourth, Hamilton fifth, not doing great for Mercedes there. But as you see going down the aisle, Ferrari and Williams not faring too well, neither of Force India. Our teammate Roman Grosjean was sat in 15th place. The Renaults are separated by Marcus Ericsson. But obviously there's different times up and down the board, mainly because of the mixture of tyres, mainly softs and mediums. Obviously we set our fastest on the super soft, so whether that'll be good enough for the qualifying session, who knows. You see there Pascal Wehrlein finishing off the grid 4.2 seconds back, but he was on the medium tyres, so you know, given the benefit of doubt, he's done alright I guess. And with that, practice is over, and I'm going to move on to qualifying. But first things first, we have a message from the agent, so let's see what she has to say.
Hi, how are you? I'm just passing on your qualifying goals for this weekend.
Right, so you can no doubt see on screen, qualifying goals have been set for this Chinese Grand Prix as qualifying 9th or higher, and of course, as always, we need to beat our rival, that is our teammate, Roman Grosjean. So how will Steve do in qualifying? Well, let's find out.
We'd like to welcome you from wherever in the world you join us today for this F1 qualifying session here in Shanghai, China. When it comes to getting lap time out of this circuit, it's traditionally been about maximising top speed. Do you simply remove as much downforce as possible, hang on into the corners and max out down the straights?
The teams will have arrived with all manner of parts designed to capitalise on the long straights. The cars will be that much harder to drive in the corners, but everyone will be in the same boat.
Right, so here we are then qualifying for the Chinese Grand Prix in the Haas of Steve Fox. As you see, he's going to open up the DRS flap, cross the line now, obviously on the soft tyres, so giving it a bit of a chance on the harder compound compared to the super soft, which is what most obviously most of the runners are going to be using. See, this first right left corner is quite a bad one, mainly because of how tight the apexes are. Steve's nailing them near enough, but coming out of this corner, and you'll notice he gets a bit of wheel spin. The car wants to get a little bit sideways, so he encountered that quite a lot over the weekend, but obviously in qualifying is not where you need it. See, 27.258 is his first sector, which was okay considering he's on the soft tyres, but as you can see coming the end of the middle sector, he's half a second up on Danny Kvyat, who set his time on the super soft tyres, and as you can see Hamilton ended up beating that time by quite some margin. But coming across the line, what's it going to be? A 140.005. Now, currently that puts him in P2. However, Steve not being happy enough, he ended up going out another run on the super soft tyres. And yeah, we're going to quickly ride on board with him throughout this first sector just to show you how much grip, or how much more grip and how much more pace, as you can see from the belt on the top right, how much more pace he picked up in this first sector thanks to the super soft tyres. Obviously, he set his first time on the softs, and obviously got him in P10, as you can see on the top left. Kimi Raikkonen now has the fastest, has the current pole position time. So obviously Steve's going to try his hardest to beat it. We're at the end of the first sector though, and he's a tenth and a half, which he's just under a tenth quicker than his personal best. And going through at the end into sector 2 though, he's a tenth and a half down. He's still 8.5 tenths up though in the middle sector. But coming around the last few corners now, I see just nicks that little cone on the end, opens the asphalt. What's it going to be? And it's going to be a second place, a 138.440, and it's just short of 300ths of a second slower than Kimi Raikkonen's Ferrari on pole position. However, will Steve improve and manage to get pole position here in qualifying? Well, let's find out.
The grid is all set then for the race tomorrow. But before we go, let's quickly remind ourselves of our top three, who are Raikkonen, a Haas, and Sebastian Vettel. The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow, where we'll be live with all the action. And until then, it's goodbye.
Well then, wasn't that an interesting qualifying? Kimi Raikkonen takes pole position by 300ths of a second from Steve Fox. Sebastian Vettel in the second Ferrari in third place. The two Mercs behind, not where the Mercs usually are, considering they're in dominating fashion. Then it's the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo, followed by the two Williams of Valtteri Bottas and Massa, with Max Verstappen taking up 9th place. Then come the two Toro Rossos of Carlos Sainz and Danny Kvyat. Then Sergio Perez 12th in the Force India there, as you can see. Fernando Alonso 13th, our teammate Roman Grosjean 14th. McLaren-Honda Jensen Button 15th. Hulkenberg 16th. They see Kevin Magnussen and Joey Palmer split the Salvos of Nasser and Ericsson. And as you see, the two Manners bring up the rear some 3 and a bit seconds behind. So that's it for qualifying. Obviously we're going to be on to the race, but before we do that, obviously we need to get our race objectives from our agent, so I'll hand you over to our agent for the race objectives.
Hi, guess who? I've seen the team's expectations for the race, so I thought I'd pass them on and wish you luck. Take care.
Right, so our race goals for this race seem very, very simple, and obviously it's no surprise that obviously, of course, we have to beat Romain Grosjean, but obviously finishing the race in 6th place or higher is going to be pretty difficult, and obviously we need to place 14th or higher. Again, that seems like quite an easy target, but obviously beating Romain and obviously finishing 6th place, two of our hardest and biggest challenges so far. I mean, considering we won the last race, this one's mainly about downforce, but will we be able to win this race from 2nd position on the grid? Well, let's find out at the inaugural Chinese Grand Prix.
Hard work, ingenuity and ambition. All things you'll find in abundance amongst the 15 million people of Shanghai over there to our southeast. And we've got plenty of that here on the grid as well. 20,000 horsepower, give or take, chomping at the bit to be unleashed for the Chinese Grand Prix. Shanghai International Circuit then, a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests a driver's patience, and the flat, open to the elements location, tests their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and overtaking is available into turn 1 and of course down the kilometre-long back straight into the hairpin at turn 14. Joining me once again to take you through this race is the effervescent Anthony Davidson, and I'm very much looking forward to it getting underway. You raced here, of course, didn't you, back in your Super Aguri days in that infamous Chinese Grand Prix of 2007?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't last that long though, unfortunately. Qualifying had gone pretty well, but my brakes failed quite early in the race, around lap 10 or 11, something like that. And of course, back in 2004, I was the very first Formula 1 driver to complete a lap of this circuit. Just thought I'd mention that for you, Crofty. You like a good stat. It's a fairly tough circuit on the brakes here though, you know, it's that long back straight down into turn 14, and then you got turn 6 and 11. They're quite heavy as well. On top of that, managing your front tyre wear is always a challenge around here, so there's a lot to keep in mind during the Grand Prix.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Kimi Raikkonen starts today from pole position and a Haas alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Hamilton, Nico Rosberg and Ricciardo, Bottas, Massa, Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, Kvyat, Perez, Fernando Alonso and Grosjean, Button, Hulkenberg, Kevin Magnussen and Felipe Nasser, Palmer and Ericsson, Pascal Wehrlein and Rio Haryanto completes the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Right, so here we are then, race day for the Chinese Grand Prix, and the tyre strategy for today's race, I thought I'd do the high tyre management, but I thought that the lap that they wanted us to pit on was lap 3, and I thought that for a chance of actually getting victory that we'd maybe need to stop 1 or 2 laps later. As you can see, I was thinking about going with the low tyre management, which is super soft, soft and then super soft to the end, but obviously it's an extra 13 seconds and I have to be like absolutely on the limit, trying to put my foot down and catch up to Kimi Raikkonen and obviously the cars that are in front. But as you see, I ended up just going with the 1 stop, but I ended up changing the pit strategy. I was thinking of going for lap 5, but I thought lap 3 is too early, lap 5 is a bit too late, so I thought I'd go for lap 4. But that's the pit strategy for the race. Now let's get on to the start of the race. So we're having up to 5 red lights here at China. And it's the lights out and away we go, and Steve's got a mediocre start. Raikkonen got a better start than Steve, but is he going to try and grab the lead into the first corner? He's going to try and go Raikkonen's inside, but is he going to go for the move? Is he going to go for it? Raikkonen's still got the door on the outside. He's still got the door's still open if he wants to take the spot. but Raikkonen stays in the lead of the Chinese Grand Prix, and Steve's going to try and just slot in behind him here, as he's got to fend off from a charging Lewis Hamilton behind. And going into this next sector, is Lewis Hamilton going to try and get past? No, he's not. And not a bad start, but not a great start either from Steve there. And as you can see, Kimi Raikkonen there, going down onto lap 3 now. As you see, Steve sets the fastest lap of the race, and Vettel now sets the fastest lap. But as you can see, he's going up the inside of Kimi Raikkonen, and that is for the lead of this Chinese Grand Prix. And yeah, not too bad of a thing. However, though, later on that lap, as we're trying to check the weather, you see Raikkonen just breezes past us with that Ferrari top end speed. But Steve's going to do some bit of late braking. He's actually going to outbrake Kimi Raikkonen going to the hairpin, so not too bad. However, moving on to lap 6, after grabbing the lead, obviously we kind of wanted to see how long we can make these tyres last. And as you see on lap 6, we're going in for our first pit stop. As you can see, there's a few little drops of rain on the screen. Now, the thing is this rain was it was there for like 3/4 of the race. However, it didn't kick in properly till like the rear end of the race, as you'll see later on. But obviously, because our tyres were getting super worn after lap 5, so we need to come in at the end of lap 6 really. And obviously we're on to the mediums now, as you can see, and we're actually going to get overtaken by Hamilton and Rosberg. However, there is a bit of a twist to this one, thanks to Jodian Palmer's backmarking, well, holding up skills, or whatever you want to call it, defensive driving. He was actually able to hold up Hamilton and Rosberg here, as you can see, holding up an absolute treat. And obviously we're taking advantage of that situation, as you can see. Try to take Rosberg on the far right hander there, but Rosberg, he comes right back, just about misses us. As you can see, we're all 3 of us are going to get DRS. Hamilton, Rosberg and myself are all going to get DRS. See, topping out at just over 220 miles an hour. As we go into the braking zone, we take Rosberg, and we also take Jodian Palmer as well, who coincidentally enough gets taken by Nico Rosberg. But as you can see, later on to lap 8 though, on the next lap, we actually managed to go down the inside of Lewis Hamilton by outbraking him into the corner. However, we run a tad bit wide. Is Lewis going to try and come back at us? Doesn't look like it, although Steve does seem to be getting quite a bit of wheel spin, but thankfully he doesn't. However, on lap 10, enough is enough. It's intermediate conditions. The rain has come down enough, and the track's actually starting to get quite slippery now. The AI, obviously, being the AI, of course, decided not to pit, but me being the smart one and Steve being the smart one too, decided that it would be best to pit onto intermediates. Now, it's a bit of a blind gamble, because the track felt average. It felt not too wet, but not dry in any sense. So, obviously, Steve, being the inquisitive one, thought, you know what, we'll see if this work pays off, see if this gamble actually pays off. But as you can see, come out of pit lane, he gets on the exit gas a bit too much, he crosses the pit lane, thankfully only getting the warnings because he gets yellow flags as well, raised a few yellow flags in the area. But the intermediate gamble actually started to slowly pay off. Come the end of that lap, he actually caught Fernando Alonso, lap 11, sorry, he actually caught Fernando Alonso. As you can see, he runs a bit wide there. Still gets DRS on him, surprisingly. Obviously in these conditions it's not full wets, but moving on to lap 12, as you see, going up to inside Danny Kvyat because he's struggling on those medium tyres. Wasn't an insits are absolutely thriving. Next target up the road, as you see, is Sebastian Vettel, and Steve actually puts a bit of a hard move on him here, going up the inside, late braking from that far back. Quite impressive stuff there. Next target, of course, is the 2 Mercs, and coming on to the last lap, as you can see, Steve's caught up that much to him, so they're still in the mediums, and Steve now being on intermediate conditions. In the intermediate conditions means that he's got the advantage, the ball's in his court. He goes up the inside of Lewis Hamilton. Is he going to try and go up the inside of Nico Rosberg as well? And he does, and he passes Nico Rosberg on the last lap for this Chinese Grand Prix. And yeah, after that it wasn't much happening, to be fair. He pulled away, and that was the end of that. And for the second race in concession, Steve Fox is going to come through and win his second race in Formula 1, despite hitting the wall at the end there. I'm sure he can be proud of that drive, and I'm sure the team are absolutely ecstatic.
A great win then for the Haas team today. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
It's a heroic effort for any drivers who race in conditions like these, and seeing them fight their way to the front was very special indeed. They were able to find all the grip, all the good lines, and have the confidence to get on the power to top it all off. That's what pushed them into first place here today.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be Haas picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for coming out on top in that amazing Grand Prix. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Our current points leader extends their lead at the top of the championship after a very good result here today. Moving on to the driver of the day then. Anthony Davidson, who would you go for?
Fernando Alonso. Wherever he is, whatever team he's in, when is he not just brilliant? He'll give you a performance every time, just like he's done today.
And now let's take a look at the constructors' standings. Mercedes have extended their lead at the top of the standings. Meanwhile, Toro Rosso's strong weekend allows them to continue their march up the table. Well, what a weekend that has been. Please join us next time for another thrilling instalment of this Formula One season.
So as you can see then from the final standing, Steve Fox wins by 7.5 seconds from Nico Rosberg, and obviously Lewis Hamilton coming home in third place, Sebastian Vettel finishing fourth, Danny Kvyat doing quite an impressive job for Toro Rosso, finishing fifth and picking up 10 points for the team. Fernando Alonso moving up from 13th to 6th in his McLaren-Honda, a good drive by him. You see Max Verstappen there in 7th, only moving up 2 spaces. The Williams pair finished 1 place lower than where they started. Sergio Perez moved up 2 places to finish 10th. You see Daniel Ricciardo unfortunately finished out the points for Red Bull, so not a great day for the team on that front, obviously only scoring 7th place for Max Verstappen. Jenson Button there in 12th place, followed by our teammate Roman Grosjean in 13th. Then Carlos Sainz 14th in the Toro Rosso, Nico Hulkenberg 15th with the 2 Renaults coming right behind him. Pascal Wehrlein finishing 18th for Mars, so a great drive by him. Then come the 2 Saubers of Nasser and Ericsson. Harry Anto finishes 21st. As you can see, the one retirement of the race was the race leader, was the pole sitter Kimi Raikkonen. So quite a shocking result there for Ferrari. Obviously getting 4th place is still a good result, but obviously having 1 car retire and 1 car finishing the points is not where they wanted to be. They obviously wanted Kimi Raikkonen to win today. It's not been his season yet. Obviously, he's even though he's got 1 pole position, the 1 race that he did get it, unfortunately, he ended up retiring in. And as you'll be able to see from moving on to the incidents, there wasn't any incidents to be honest. There was us getting the one, as you saw before, crossing the pit lane exit white line, and of course Kimi Raikkonen had a mechanical failure, actually on the same lap, so lap 11. Only 3 laps from home, so I feel quite good for him. As you can see, most of the AI made 1 stop, so not fantastic. But after that brilliant result, it actually extends our gap at the top of the championship table by 10 points between us and Lewis Hamilton. Rosberg moving up from 5th to 3rd, I believe it is. Sebastian Vettel staying in 4th there with 39 points. Then you see Daniel Ricciardo's gone down a few places. Kimi Raikkonen and Max Verstappen stay where they are. Daniel Kvyat and Fernando Alonso have moved up in the world, have gone up to 8th and 9th. Valtteri Bottas, Massa and Hulkenberg all slipped down the driver standings. Grosjean, our teammate, stays in 13th along with Sergio Perez, who's moved up a position. Carlos Sainz, Button and Wehrlein are moving down a place. And obviously, as you can see there, from Jenson Button down to Felipe Nasr, none of them have unfortunately scored any points. For some reason, Magnussen and Nasr have been swapped places despite not scoring any points. I don't know how that works, but nevertheless. But obviously, in terms of the constructors, well, that's going to be quite interesting as well. As you can see, ourselves, Haas, have moved into 2nd place in the constructors. Would you believe it? Obviously, Mercedes have extended their gap at the top now, but ourselves is the biggest change there. You see ourselves, Haas, moving to 2nd. Ferrari and Red Bull obviously moving down because of that. Williams have stayed in 5th. Toro obviously moving up to 6th place ahead of McLaren and also Force India. As you can see, Sauber, Manor and Renault all scoring 0 points. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a glitch where you can see Force India down to Renault there, no names. I don't know if this is a glitch that you guys might have found, but yeah, if you found it, make sure to leave that in the comment section below. And yeah, I've decided that after today's episode that I'm going to turn the difficulty up from expert to legend for the next race. That'll provide better racing and a more accurate result of where we actually are in the championship and obviously in the race and so on. So yeah, next race obviously Russia, and it should provide some fantastic entertainment there. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe if you are new. And until next time, I've been Viper Racing, you guys have been awesome watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Ta-ra!